Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the third Deadpool installment, which is entitled Deadpool and Wolverine. This has been a huge hit at the box office recently. I have filmed this around the time that the box office results for opening weekend of Deadpool and Wolverine have been released. It looks like it's made a ton of money over its opening weekend, so hopefully it'll continue that streak. But I am here to review the film for you guys today. This is also important to know that this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you have not seen the film yet, do not worry. I am not going to spoil anything. I am going to do my very best to make sure that I talk about everything about the film, both how I felt about it and the film itself, without revealing too much about the film. So if you have not seen the film yet, do not fear at all. This will be a spoiler-free review. So, in Deadpool and Wolverine, like I said, this is the third time around we get to see Deadpool and a feature film like this. And basically, he gets called into action from the TVA, from the Loki TV show, letting Deadpool know that both his own universe as well as other universes in the multiverse are basically in trouble. They're trying to wipe clean some of the ones that this new mutant threat from the X-Men universe is trying to wipe out, kind of our villain of the film per se. And so Deadpool's not okay with this. He's basically willing to do almost anything to make sure his universe will stick around any longer that he can. And so basically, he finds out that there is a universe within the multiverse that has an alternate version of Wolverine, and his universe is kind of one of the reasons why a lot of this is happening. So basically, Deadpool tracks down that alternate version of Wolverine, and him and this other character basically have to figure out what can they do to resolve all this. What can they do to keep a continuous timeline the way that the TVA would normally do it in the Loki TV series? And what can they do to make sure that Deadpool's universe stays around and that this alternate Wolverine's universe also stays around as well. So they have to work together to resolve this huge conflict that's presented to them. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine quite a bit. The first Deadpool is probably still going to be my first and favorite Deadpool film, just because it was different for the time. It was so out there. It really did kind of push its R rating at the best that it could. It really kind of did everything to make sure that we are not doing PG-13 Deadpool. We are giving you an R-rated one. But nonetheless, this new Deadpool film, Deadpool and Wolverine, is a very fun experience. It's a great sequel. It's a great Deadpool film. It's very, very close to the first one, like almost up by like a teeny little bit for me. They're really kind of almost neck and neck, but if I really had to choose one or the other, I probably would choose the first film over this one. But let's go over some positives and negatives. So I really enjoyed this film quite a bit, but I do have a couple little nitpicks every once in a while here that I think the film could have done better with. But for my positives and negatives, though, for my positives first, very fun film to watch, very entertaining, very fun. If you're a Marvel fan, if you're an X-Men fan, if you're a fan of what 20th Century Fox did with a lot of their Marvel projects back in the day, tons of fun to watch here, tons of great Easter eggs, tons of great surprises. Once again, spoiler-free review, won't say what they are, but very fun to watch, very entertaining. I was never bored in this movie at all, not once. The film also breaks the fourth wall in really clever ways. I know the first two Deadpool films already kind of did this already, but this film really uses that element quite a bit, and it's also very, very fun. There's even kind of a point near the end of the film where Deadpool acknowledges that the film's kind of gone on longer than it should have, and that we're in the home stretch and that the film's almost over with. So I thought that was kind of clever. It's kind of fun that the film acknowledges just how long it's going on for certain things. But it does break the fourth wall in other ways as well throughout the runtime, and it's very fun to see Ryan Reynolds improvise a lot of this and bring a lot of fun to this movie. They definitely did a great job with finding unique ways to break the fourth wall and keep us entertained and intrigued for the entire time as well. Tons of great Marvel cameos, tons of great MCU connecting. So if you're worried at all if Deadpool won't connect at all to the MCU, this film I think does a terrific job of really kind of working his way into the MCU while also kind of making sure nothing gets interfered or ruined. It really does find a way to kind of cleverly connect everything, both from the Fox universe and the Marvel universe, and kind of bring them together so that Disney can kind of make it one and the same thing now since they own both properties. So tons of great cameos, tons of great surprises, like I said, and it does connect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in ways that you'd want it to. And overall, too, I feel like this just works well as a Marvel film. We've had so many kind of hits or misses over the years of Marvel films that we kind of liked and didn't like after Avengers Endgame. And I am happy to report that this is probably the first one since Spider-Man No Way Home where I left completely happy. I left, very satisfied with where kind of Marvel's going to head now. I do think they're in a better place now than they were about a year or two ago. Um, just works great as a Marvel film. It has a great story, great characters, continues the stuff you want to continue. It does kind of further things along a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't continue it super much because it is an R-rated film, and so not a lot of kids are going to be able to see this movie. But it does work well as a Marvel film. It does work well as connecting everything together. And I just had a blast watching it. It's just a great film to watch. If you love Marvel films, I really have a hard time believing that you're not going to enjoy this film. Also, the action, the humor, and the creativity are all top notch here. I know this film ran into problems when the writer's strike happened. I think they actually had to discontinue and completely halt filmmaking for it until the strike was resolved. So they did kind of had to continue filming after all that was said and done. But whatever they did, whatever kind of reshoots they had to do, because I think they had some type of last minute reshoots before the film came out, but whatever they had to do to make sure the action, the humor, and the creativity were top notch for this project, they did a terrific job here. There's just tons of fun surprises, tons of fun things I can't talk about because it's a spoiler free review, but they really did a top notch production here. Everything you'd want from a Deadpool film is pretty much here in this film. And also, it really is important to point out, I think Ryan Reynolds is just absolutely terrific at improvising on set. There's just a lot of takes I heard when they were filming this movie where he got to improvise lines and do things as they came along on set, being with allowing his creativity to flow naturally. It was just great to see him improvising and improvising well for this film. So for those who like the way Ryan Reynolds tends to do that in his comedy films, he does a really, really good job in this film. He really does bring a lot of fun, poking fun at the camera, poking fun at the Marvel Universe, all that kind of stuff here. So he really does a terrific job here, and it's just a ton of fun to watch him do that. And there's also a message in the film that really doesn't spoil anything. It's just kind of the overall message of the film. And I think it's an important one, too, just for life in general. And that's that our past can allow us to be our best selves. And I really think that's an important message. I think, there's so many times in this movie where they do deal with time travel, and Deadpool's like, oh, we got to fix this now in the past. And we got to fix this part of Wolverine's past. And I want to fix this part of mine. And he wants to fix this. And I want to fix that. And then a TVA employee basically lets them know, like, our past forms us to who we are. It makes us the best versions of who we are. So by taking away those moments from our past, whether it's something we liked or didn't like, we become our best selves because of how the past has formed us to our present. So I think that is a very important message. There's so many times where, people in both my own life and everybody else's life where they're like, oh, I wish this could change in my past. And I want this to change and this to change and this to change. But at the end of the day, we become our best versions of ourselves through our past by learning stuff, by constructively moving along kind of where we have to go next in our lives. And I think that's just an important message to have. And I like how Deadpool and Wolverine really brought that message home by the end of the story. But for my negatives of Deadpool and Wolverine, I really do feel like you need to have a well recapped knowledge of MCU films going in. Thankfully, I've kind of kept up with the MCU for the most part. There's a couple of Disney Plus shows I never finished or anything, but for the most part, for their films that they've released, I've caught up with everything. So for me personally, it was easy to keep up with everything, but I feel like for people that really haven't been good about keeping up with, the Deadpool films, the X-Men films, or the recent Marvel films over the past couple of years, there is a couple things here which is like, okay, well, maybe that person will be lost, and this person will be lost, and that kind of person will be lost, but for the most part, if you've been keeping up with MCU, I think you'll be pretty satisfied with all the things they acknowledge. But for those who really don't know anything about it, for those who are just kind of wondering what the hype's all about, there is a lot of things that are going to be thrown at you regarding earlier MCU films. So if at all possible, try to keep up a little bit. Try to, have a little bit of a Marvel marathon going into this one, because they do acknowledge a lot of things that happened in earlier films. And I think that it'll help you enjoy the film the best if you do keep up with those. It unfortunately is not really a film where you can just kind of jump in and kind of know about everything. They really do kind of want you to know things that happened in earlier MCU films to understand this one. And also by the third act, it is kind of a tiring film after a while, just because there is so many jokes thrown at you, so many action scenes, so many surprises. By the third act, I did feel kind of tired, just because it was so many things that were being thrown at you as the audience. So do go into this film knowing that by the time the third act rolls around, you'll probably be kind of exhausted with all the stuff they've thrown at you. It's a very fast moving film, and they really do kind of expect you to kind of keep along and catch up with everything as they throw it at you. And overall, I do feel like some of the R-rated moments do feel a little out of place with the overall MCU tone. I think the MCU has done such a great job kind of keeping things PG-13, keeping it within a certain tone. So though I do think they did their best to kind of keep it within that tone as much as they could, some of these really hard R moments really do kind of break that tone a little bit. So do go into this film knowing that it's not absolutely perfect as far as completely fitting into the tone of what the MCU has gave us before. But overall, I'm going to give Deadpool and Wolverine a 9 out of 10. It's a very fun film. I highly recommend seeing it. If you're a Deadpool fan whatsoever, or an X-Men fan, or a Marvel fan, absolutely go see this film. It's a ton of fun to watch. And like I said, specifically if you like those earlier Deadpool films, I think you're really going to have a lot of fun here. So 9 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend it. Not a ton of bad things going for it, but just enough where I would probably say I think I maybe do prefer that first Deadpool film just a little bit more. But 9 out of 10 for me. Highly recommend it. Be sure to see Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a great movie.